if you're learning English, you know this feeling. I mean, you definitely know it. You've studied the vocabulary, the grammar charts are, clear in your head. You can understand almost everything.
Hmm.
But the moment you need to speak, like ordering a coffee, something simple, your mouth just feels glued shut. Your heart starts racing, and your brain is just screaming, abort, abort, just smile and get out of there.
Oh, absolutely. And that feeling, that huge gap between knowing something and actually doing it,
Mm-hmm.
that's often the single biggest thing holding English learners back.
Wow.
It's the moment your internal knowledge has to, well, face the external spotlight,
Right.
and the whole system just locks up. We often describe it as standing on the edge of a high diving board.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, rationally, that you can
Mhm.
swim. But taking that leap where you feel so exposed and vulnerable, that's where the paralysis hits.
And that paralyzing fear is exactly why we spent time, digging into the sources for you.
Yeah.
Our mission today is to tackle that anxiety head on. We've synthesized the psychology of why you freeze. And then, this is the important part, we've extracted 8 practical, actionable strategies, real tools you can start using today.
And this isn't about, just feeling more motivated. This is tactical. It's about brain training and mindset shifts that can fundamentally redefine what a mistake even is.
Okay, so let's start with the root cause then, the why. You're asked a simple question, maybe about your weekend, something you definitely know how to answer, and yet, total brain shutdown. Why does that happen?
Well, what's fascinating here is that your brain, your sort of ancient brain, isn't processing this as a simple language challenge. It sees speaking a foreign language in front of other people as a social threat.
A social threat, so not a physical one.
Exactly. We're talking about that deep, deeply rooted human fear of judgment, the fear of embarrassment, of looking foolish.
So it's not really about the grammar at all. It's about, what, social status, acceptance?
Precisely. And that perceived threat, it activates the body's emergency mode. It triggers the classic fight, flight, freeze response.
And for language learners, it's almost always freeze.
It almost always freeze.
Right.
Complete lockup. Your thoughts just scatter. Muscle memory for your mouth disappears, and you're just stuck.
And I think what the sources make so clear is that this is not a character flaw. It's not you being incompetent. It's just your survival mechanism, your amygdala overreacting.
Yes, it's trying to protect you from being socially ostracized, which, hundreds of thousands of years ago was a death sentence.
Right.
But we need that blunt reality check right now. Nobody is actually going to attack you for saying I goed instead of I went.
Huh.
But the cycle is vicious.
Yeah.
The more you avoid speaking because of that feeling, the stronger that fear muscle gets. If
Yeah.
you keep exercising avoidance, fear just grows.
So you have to exercise courage instead.
You have to. That's the only way out.
Okay, so let's talk about mistakes then. Let's
Yeah.
let's take a sledgehammer to how we define a mistake. Because most learners treat them like this terrible proof of failure.
And we have to challenge that viewpoint completely. Mistakes are not evidence of failure. They are, in fact, undeniable evidence that you are actively learning.
I love that reframe because if you never make a mistake, it just means you're playing it safe, right? You're in the shallow end of the pool.
Exactly. You're just recycling the words you already know. You're staying comfortable. Mistakes prove you are pushing your boundaries. You're trying out new grammar, new vocabulary. You're testing a hypothesis.
And the test might fail, but that failure is data.
It's all data. It's literally how humans learn every single skill.
I was really struck by that story in the source material about the person who tried to compliment someone's new jacket,
Oh, yeah.
but they accidentally said, "That's a nice racket."
A fantastic example. Can you imagine how mortifying that must have felt in the moment? But that shock, that little bit of embarrassment, it instantly burned the correct word, jacket,
Yeah.
into their long-term memory.
So the mistake actually taught the lesson faster than 1,000 flashcards.
Way faster. Because it was attached to a real-world emotional consequence.
But let's push back on that a little. I mean, isn't there a point where too many mistakes just cause confusion? If I make that jacket tracket mistake at a big professional meeting, the social cost might be higher.
That's a fair point.
Mm.
But the reframe is that you don't just passively tolerate the mistake. You treat it as a feedback loop. If you cause confusion, the immediate correction, that is the lesson.
Oh, okay.
You've learned not just the word, but the context, the potential pitfalls. The key difference is you didn't let the mistake shut you down.
So we need a new mantra, something like, every mistake moves me forward, not backward.
Yes. When a mistake happens, you don't spiral into shame. You just ask, okay, what did that teach me? And then you move on.
Which brings us to self-talk, that internal voice. If you're constantly telling yourself, oh, I'm so bad at this, or why can't I remember that simple word?
Hmm.
You're actively programming your brain to see speaking as this painful, awful thing.
You're just reinforcing the fear. And this is where we bring in the strategy of reframing. This just means taking that harsh thought and, looking at the exact same situation from a fairer, kinder angle.
So let's run through some examples from the sources.
Okay, so the old thought might be, I sounded ridiculous. I totally messed up the past tense.
We've all been there.
We have. The new balanced thought is something like, okay, but I spoke up. That took courage. I got my idea across, and that counts.
What about, I can never remember vocabulary under pressure?
The reframe thought is, my vocabulary is growing.
Well,
I used 5 new words today that I couldn't use last month. I'm making progress.
this shift, it changes your emotional state. Instead of shame, you get resilience.
Exactly. And that resilience comes from shifting away from a perfection-focused mindset, that trap of waiting until you're flawless and moving towards a growth-focused mindset.
Right, because the perfect moment to start speaking, it's never going to arrive.
Never. A growth mindset just expects mistakes. It accepts that today's messy attempt is so much better than tomorrow's perfect silence.
So a practical way to do this is to set effort goals instead of perfection goals.
That's right. So instead of a goal like, I'll speak English perfectly today,
Which is impossible.
totally impossible, you set an effort goal like, I will start a conversation in English 3 times this week, no matter how messy it gets. You focus on the action, which you can control, not the outcome.
Yeah, okay, we've covered the why and the mindset. Let's get tactical. Let's talk about the 3-count method.
This is based on a tiny window of opportunity in your brain. Research shows that when you get a stimulus, like a question, you have about 3 seconds before your amygdala, the fear center, fully kicks in and shuts you down.
Wait, only 3 seconds?
About that, yeah. So the key is to act within that window. It's like jumping into cold water. If you stand there thinking about how cold it's going to be,
You'll never jump.
you'll never jump.
Yeah.
But if you just count 1, 2, 3 and go, you're in the water before the fear can really grab hold.
So when you get a chance to speak, you just silently count 1, 2, 3 and say something. Anything.
Anything. Even if it's just, that's interesting, or let me think for a moment. You acted, and every time you do that, you're teaching your brain that speaking English isn't actually a threat. The fear response gets weaker.
And the second tactic is to learn to disarm the awkward moments. Basically, learn to laugh at them.
Right. This is about taking the emotional power away from the mistake. Think about that classic example. The speaker who wanted to say, I'm so embarrassed, but it came out like, I'm very pregnant.
Oh no, that has huge mortification potential.
Massive. But what did the person do? They laughed. They immediately laughed and clarified what they meant. And by laughing, they turned a shaming moment into a funny, shared human experience.
The humor just disarmed the whole situation. It tells everyone, I'm human, I'm learning, this is okay.
Exactly. So when you make a mistake, don't spiral. Just breathe, smile, and say, oops, my English is still loading, or haha, let me try that again. People really respect that.
Okay, so what if, even with these tactics, speaking in public just feels like too much right now?
Then you need to create a practice sanctuary. This is just a safe space, 0 stakes, where you can experiment without any fear of judgment.
And the sources give a few options here. The first one was solo practice.
Yeah, which sounds a bit strange, but it works. Just narrating your day out loud in English. I am making tea. I am looking for the sugar. It just gets your mouth and your brain comfortable forming the sentences.
Then there's voice memos.
Record yourself for, say, a minute a day, just talking about your day. The point isn't to criticize yourself. It's just to get used to the sound of your own voice speaking English.
Number 3 was find a fellow learner.
And this is key. Find someone at your level who is also making mistakes. The risk of judgment just evaporates when you're both in the same boat.
And finally, AI tools, chatbots, apps.
Things that won't get impatient or judge your accent. They just give you a neutral space to practice.
All of this leads to, I think, the most crucial point of all, that good enough is the new perfect. You have to stop waiting for perfect confidence to show up.
Because it never will. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait for. Confidence is what you build by doing the thing.
Right. There's learner A, who studies for 5 years, waits to be ready, and never speaks.
And their confidence stays at 0. Then there's learner B, who studies for 2 years, makes a ton of mistakes, but speaks constantly.
Learner B gets fluent faster.
Every single time. because good enough participation beats perfect silence every time.
So we should leave you with a power statement, something to repeat right before you speak.
Yes, the phrase is, I don't need to be perfect, I just need to participate.
Say that to yourself, count 1, 2, 3, and then just speak.
Every time you do, you build a little bit of real, lived confidence. And that slowly chips away at the fear.
That was a real deep dive. We covered the psychology, the freeze. The mindset shift mistakes are just evidence. And the practical actions, the 3-count method, the sanctuary.
And we really want to encourage you. Don't try to do all 8 of these things at once. That's overwhelming. Just pick one thing.
Right. Maybe just commit to changing one harsh thought today. Or try the 3-count method once this week.
Because we want you to really get this.
Yeah.
Your mistakes do not define you. Your courage does. The courage to just keep trying.
And if you commit to just being, slightly braver than you were yesterday, every single day,
How quickly will that daily courage start to compound into real, unstoppable momentum?
that's the challenge we'll leave you with. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and thank you for joining us for this deep dive.